All right, NFC South. There are your odds for and no surprise, Buccaneers overwhelming favorite. Then the Saints, then the Panthers, and the Falcons are just trying to stay on the radar screen. They are a soft blip at the far edge. But who knows? Who knows? We would have said the same thing about the Bengals last year as a potential Super Bowl participant. So let's get into it, Chris. NFC South win totals. They play the teams of the NFC West and the teams of the AFC North, a.k.a. good luck teams of the NFC South. Start with the Panthers. 6.5 over-under win total. Coach on the hot seat in Matt Rule. Quarterback in Baker Mayfield. They just added Laviska Shenault via trade with the Jaguars. Not that that's going to make a tremendous difference, all due respect. But what do we think? They were 5-12 last year. Matt Rule, I'm surprised, is back for year 3. I think the buyout saved him. Do they get above 6.5 wins this year?
I'm going to say yes. The schedule is tough. I think that's the thing that, bothers me more than anything, because I kind of believe in the team. I did a little last year. You know that. I look at it and I go, wait, the team got better. And, of course, it's a young football team that got a year older. And I think they got the best quarterback they've had in a while since Cam Newton playing. So that's where I go, they are in a tough division. We know that too. So, I mean, you look at their schedule and you go, well, I could see them maybe starting out 2-0. I could maybe see that for sure. But, man, they got some stretches there where you just go, whoa, that could be pretty brutal there. The Saints, the Cardinals, the Niners, the Rams, the Bucks. Oh, you get a break with the Falcons, and, you got the Bengals back on. And then you start to go to the Ravens. And so I'm going to go over here. Again, they're one of those teams that I think if there's a team that I mark in the NFC that goes, it didn't make the playoffs last year, but could be in it this year and kind of comes out of nowhere, I'm, for the second year in a row, going to go with the Panthers. O-line was the biggest issue last year. I think they've improved that. Go ahead. Sorry.
You're a firm believer in that defense.
I am.
And the defense can't do its thing if the offense can't do anything. And the big mystery in all of this is Christian McCaffrey. If he can stay healthy, and it's not on him. I don't say that in a pejorative way. He plays a position. We've said this time and again. The risk of injury is ever present. And there are very few Emmitt Smiths out there that are constructed in a way that they can continue to keep going no matter what it is that may be broken, sprained, or fractured on them. So if they can get more out of McCaffrey than they have the last 2 years, they should be able to get over 6.5 wins. I don't know that I'm ready to say that they're a playoff contender, but I could see them finishing second in the division behind the Bucs. I could see them overcoming the Saints. I could see it falling a certain way. So I'll go ahead. I thought I was going to disagree with you on that one, but you convinced me. And again, if we can just keep the team healthy, this should be a team that sails over 6.5 wins.
I think so. There's definitely, superstar receiver in DJ Moore. We know about Robbie Anderson. You said it, McCaffrey. Tight ends aren't bad. Front seven on defense is up there with anybody in the game. And, the secondary, add that to it and go, well, they got a lot of good cover guys across the board. And, didn't even have their top 10 pick last year in J.C. Horn play. So he's back. So I just look at that and go, gosh, and then the fact that it is kind of a lame duck year here for Rule where, your butt's on the hot seat for sure. I'm going to say they go over. I don't know. I'm not sitting here thinking I think it's going to be 11-6 or 10-7, but I think they get over 6.5 wins.
They could get over 6.5 wins, and it still may not be enough to save Matt Rule by the time it's all said and done. When they were linked to Sean Payton earlier this year for next year, they didn't exactly mobilize to spray cold water all over that possibility. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, over-under of 11.5 wins, and for good reason, 13-4 a year ago, petered out in the divisional round. This year, Tommy's back. He's ready to go. They've upgraded. They've got some great players on both sides of the ball. They're one of the true few contenders in the NFC that we just look at and say, yeah, they're in. Do they get over 11.5 wins, though?
Yeah, this one's, again, I expect them to win the NFC South. I do. I look at it and go, this is still one of the better rosters in all of football. There's no doubt about that. Their schedule's real deal this year. It's real deal. The last few years, it's kind of fell the right way. We saw the year they won the Super Bowl, they put a bunch of cupcakes down the stretch to where they got to get in a run and gain some confidence. last year.
They were 6-6, weren't they?
Yeah,
they were 6-6.
and they got to play some teams that they were
7-5, something like that.
Right around that range. Again, I look at this year and go, whoa, it's a little different. Last year, the schedule was not daunting. This year, I look at it and go, I think that the Saints are going to be damn good. We just said Carolina is going to be better, I think. And then when you talk about the NFC West and the AFC North, plus the crossover, we got to play the number one team, in the other divisions. So we got the Packers on the schedule. And then the 17th game is the Chiefs. That's their crossover 17th. I just go, I still think going to be one of the better teams in football, but I'm going to take the under here. I could see 11-6 or 10-7, and oh man, we stubbed our feet in a few games and lost some that we didn't think we were going to lose. I don't know. And then with the offensive line issues, I just go with that and Brady. I think it could be a little less uncomfortable than it's been the last 2 years. So that's where I'll just go slightly under on this one.
Or more uncomfortable. Less comfortable or more uncomfortable?
More uncomfortable. I guess that's the way I should say it. Less comfortable, more uncomfortable, yes.
You're back on the devil's lettuce, so we'll
thank you.
Give you that.
Give me some
We're
leeway.
not going to give you the high bar that we had become accustomed to. They were, by the way, 7-5 going into the last 4 games of the 2020 season, ran the table, and then won 4 more, obviously, to cap the season. I was leaning over. And then as I listened to you pulled me to your way of thinking. I'm still going to say over on this one. And I know because I currently believe this is Tom Brady's last hurrah, I think that's going to be a factor. I think he will cause those around him to elevate. He will shout it into existence that whoever is playing left guard, center, and right guard will play well enough to allow him to get rid of the football. Todd Bowles will do enough. He may not be Bruce Arians, but he'll do enough. And he'll have Arians there to help him out, and Arians has been involved. I am going to go over on this one.
Okay.
I think that even though the schedule is not kind, I think because this is Tom Brady's last year, barring a surprise, although he's been full of them lately, I think that's enough to pull everybody together. And, it may not be enough to get to the Super Bowl, but I think it's enough to get north of 11.5. I'm very nervous about that.
They're right on the cusp there. Again, I think so. You look at a team that's been at the top of the mountain for 2 years a little bit, and you go, oh, could there be a letdown? And like I said, I think I would like to. I could talk about. I just think that the schedule has fallen the right way for them the last few years a little bit, to where even down the stretch last year it was the Panthers twice and the Jets and. To me, again, with this the way it looks, and then I go offensive line, and you got to play all these teams with these great defensive lines this year. There's a few more stretches of games where I look at and go, there's no guarantee. As good as the Bucs are, there's no guarantee they're gonna beat the Saints or the Packers or the Chiefs, right? And the Ravens and the Rams and teams that we've talked about that go, what, Mike? Have a little creativity on the defensive side of the ball and have some dudes up front that go, we can get in Brady's face and cause some issues. So that's where I lean, but I don't feel confident about it, just like you don't feel maybe totally confident about the over there. It's a tough one.
I'm probably giving Brady more credit than I should, but that's fine because he deserves
he does.
all the credit he gets. When it comes down to the impact he can have day in and day out on a locker room as you go through the 17-game grind. I think that ends up being even more important than what Todd Bowles does as the replacement for Bruce Arians. And also, if there's anything to the rumors, the reports, the idea that there was some friction last year, if they can eliminate that friction between head coach and the offensive structure. This is just Byron Leftwich and Tom Brady doing it all this year with no interference. Well, assuming Bruce Arians doesn't try to interfere because he's still there. But assuming that things are more harmonious this year, maybe that sets the stage for at least 12 wins in 2022. Saints, 8.5 is their number. Last year they were 9-8, and they had a lot of things conspire to make it harder for them to be as good. And I know that Bill Parcells says you are what your record says you are. They were better than 9-8 last year. Will they be better than 8.5 wins this year?
Yeah, this is a tough one because, you do lose Sean Payton, and it's just like, wow. gosh, you lost Sean Payton. That's just not easy to replace. But I do think Sean Payton left the team in a pretty good spot for where they are right now. I don't know how much longer it can last because they got some guys, that are aging veterans that I worry about a little bit. But I'm going to go over here. I am. I don't think it's going to be by a lot. I could see them going 9-8 here. But I just look at them and go, man, the defense is pretty top-notch, and Dennis Allen being over there, that hasn't changed. And I know they're losing Sean Payton. I don't expect the offense to be as creative, but wow, it's still an overpowering offensive line, and they got legit 3 receivers this year. And you add that to Alvin Kamara and the way they can kind of run the ball. And I know the offense, even though it might not be as good, it's still going to be solid and good. It's not going to I don't think it's going to fall off earth with a guy that's been underneath Sean Payton for this long. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to go over with the Saints.
At times, I have heavily defended Jameis Winston. We talk about the 2019 season. Yes, he threw an interception on the last play of the year, intercepted and returned for a touchdown to give him 30. We forget about the fact that he had over 5,000 passing yards. I feel like he is who he is at this point in his career. This is year number 8 for him. He is who he is, and I don't think that's enough to get the Saints to where they want to be. We've had the foot injury this year. He had the ACL tear last year. Without Sean Payton there to work his brand of magic, I need to see it to believe it.
Yeah,
and
okay.
Look, I think Dennis Allen was the right guy for the job. I think the continuity makes a lot of sense. I couldn't understand why Dennis Allen wasn't getting looks from other teams to go in and be their head coach. But I just think when we get to the week in and week out grind, they're going to find out the hard way what it means to not have Sean Payton there, and they're going to go under.
You're going to go under. Yeah, all right. It's a tough one, and I hear your point. It's not easy to replace Sean Payton, the motivator, the guy who can kind of stick the hot poker, on everybody to get them going when they're maybe down in the dumps a little bit or just middle of the season monotony. And then of course, as we both know, his ability to game plan and call plays at the right time, steal plays, invent plays. I mean, that's second to none. He's one of the greatest of all time in that department. So it's not easily replaced. So I hear your questions there. I guess I'm just going to rely on the roster a little bit, and I guess I have just a hair more faith in Jameis Winston, than you do.
Last and most definitely least in the NFC South. Sorry, but it's true. They know. Falcons, they know. They may be heading somewhere good, but for now, this is where they are. Over under 4.5 wins. Last year, surprisingly 7-10, but that was with Matt Ryan. Now we go from Matt Ryan to Marcus Mariota and maybe at some point Desmond Ridder. Do they get to at least 5 wins?
Man, this is a tough one here. That's where I kind of see them as that 5-12 type of team, maybe 6-11. I mean, maybe 4-13. I guess where I want to say under, but I have a little faith in Arthur Smith. I do like the way he coaches football games on the offensive side, and they have an offensive line that's got a little toughness to them, But yeah, you're relying on a rookie receiver and Kenyon Drake
Drake London.
Drake London, thank you.
Kenyon Drake London.
Yeah, right. Drake London from USC, who's dealing with a knee issue. We know Pitts is a superstar. The defense, there's not a lot of household names there for sure. I mean, Grady Jarrett and Terrell, AJ Terrell, are their 2 guys on the defensive side of the ball. So, gosh, I'll go. I want to go over here too. I want to go over, but I don't want to go over by much. I'm going to say over by 5. I'm going to say 5 wins. I don't know. I feel like they'll squeak one out, but I don't feel comfortable about that. I think we're right in the range of what I expect the Falcons to be.
I'm looking at their schedule now.
It's pretty brutal, right?
Yeah, I'm looking for the W's.
Yeah,
They do have a Panthers sandwich week 8 and 10. The meat in that sandwich is the Chargers. And they got a short week coming out of that Chargers game. I just don't know. Where are the victories? Where do you look at it and say?
I'm going to go under, too. I'm going under. I'm going to go 4. You're with you. I hear you. You're right. There's no stretch there. The Bears, okay, maybe. I don't know. But you're right. There's just, to your point, I think you're saying it right, Mike. What game are they going to step on the field and go, we actually got the better players? And actually, as I sit there and look at it more thoroughly here, I go, I don't know if there's one that I'm going to sit here and go, well, I'd rather have their roster than this roster. The Bears might be the only one I look at. Other than that, yeah, I think you're right. It's big trouble. So I'm going under there. You changed my mind.
The stretch that will set the tone for the Falcons week 3 and week 4. Because now look, they could beat the Saints week 1. They could. And that would create a very different vibe for the Falcons if they can pull that off. But let's say they would lose to the Saints and the Rams. At the Seahawks with Geno Smith, or maybe by then Drew Lock, who knows. And then the Browns, who won't have Deshaun Watson. If they can come out of that stretch 2-2, then I'll revisit my position. But even then, even when you take the first 4 games out of the mix, Chris, where are the wins? That's a long way to go before you get to the Bears in week 11. Bucks, 49ers, Bengals, good luck there. And then you got the Panthers twice in 17 days with the Chargers in between. I'm sticking with the under, and if they prove me wrong, I'll be the first to admit I was wrong, because I agree with you. I believe in Arthur Smith. I just don't think they have the personnel yet.
Right.
And this whole Matt Ryan thing, I mean, they wanted Matt Ryan to be there. They had negotiated a restructured contract that was going to allow him to stay, and it wasn't until Deshaun Watson expressed interest in them, they came to the table. That blew up the Matt Ryan relationship, and now, Marcus Mariota was available for a reason. Good quarterbacks just aren't available for you to go out and grab, and he's got potential, but he doesn't have consistency and he doesn't have durability. And I think they're gonna, at some point, they're gonna see what they have in Desmond Ridder. And if they don't have anything good in Desmond Ridder, they're gonna be in position next year with a very high pick in the draft to get a franchise guy if they want to try to do it. So I'm going under.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think you kind of laid it out the right way. That's the questions I have. And I've gotten the sense, too, and even the preseason, and I noticed this just from the Jets game last week that we saw on Monday Night Football. Again, anybody you talk to, the Jets seemed like they had their way with them in the scrimmages leading up to the game. And the game, I felt like Atlanta game planned a little bit for the Jets. I feel like they've game planned a little in every game to kind of build a false sense of confidence like you're talking about to a degree, at least more than the other teams I've watched that have been generic. So, that's I think they've maybe given us a false look a little bit too. So I'm with you. I'm going to go under as well. There's just not enough big-time players on both sides of the ball to make me think they can do more than that.
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.